Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. This could technically be a Forensic Friday. We're here to give you guys a live update on the search for Nancy Guthrie. We have a special guest who's going to join us after our first initial piece of media that we play. EquuSearch Midwest director Dave Rader, attached to Texas EquuSearch. They're on standby and possibly going to be heading to Tucson, Arizona, to search for Nancy Guthrie in the vast areas that they need to be searched. And they need to be searched again because, as we know, the search in the beginning could be a little bit of questionable, or it doesn't hurt to go back over it. Ed, your thoughts on the sheriff? We have Sheriff Nanos now he's back on a media tour. What are your thoughts on that, Ed?
Well, yeah, he's out there now being the face of the county here, and he's trying to get out the message that, about the gloves, about the suspect DNA from the house, and that there were all these other things that they're doing behind the scenes that we're not privy to. He's given the details, like he's saying, there was no glove recovered from the house. The gloves were recovered from, off the roads, 1.5 to 2 miles away from Nancy's house, and things of that nature. He also did say that they did elimination DNA from family members and people that had legitimate access, workers and things of that nature, to Nancy's house, and eliminated them as the source of this DNA.
And I'm glad you brought that up because we didn't hear him say it, but essentially with his broad statement, basically he said everybody within the Guthrie family has been cleared. That includes the son-in-law. Right. And I think by a show of hands in the chat, there's so many people still right here and now. And I'm not saying that I don't still have thoughts of this, that there's people who think that the son-in-law, had something to do with this because he was the one who drove her home after the night of getting together and having dinner. They had an Uber pick her up or had her go by Uber there. Why did they not say, hey, take an Uber home? They took her home. So maybe it was late. Who knows? But
again, here too, we don't know what kind of DNA it is. We don't know the context that the DNA samples were found and collected.
Right.
So we don't know any of that. And if they found the family's DNA in this house, it wouldn't be unusual. I mean, they have legitimate access to it. But if the DNA was found on a weapon or something to that effect, then that would have some significance, but we don't know any of that.
Right. And even the parts of her being brought home, a lot of it's not clear. So this is one of the cases where everything is all over the place and there's so many people reporting on it, you're getting mixed messages. Let us know where you're watching from, city and state, in the chat. If you're outside the country, let us know where you're watching from. We love our new and replay viewers and also our live chatters. That's you folks in the live chat. Let's take a listen to Sheriff Nanos. He had an interview with News Nation.
Also big news about DNA, unknown DNA that was found in Nancy Guthrie's home. Moments ago, I spoke with Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos about it. Sheriff Nanos, I want to first talk to you about the DNA that you are testing. You have unknown DNA that you have found, DNA that does not match anybody in the Guthrie family, does not match anybody working for Nancy Guthrie inside her home. This sounds like this could be a significant lead.
Well, we found DNA and we eliminated some people, yes. And yes, it's significant when we find somebody that certainly matches that for sure. But right now, there's a lot of significant leads we're working. I think that video was very key to us, and we're tracking down some things there too. So we as of what's today? I'm sorry, it's Friday. So as of Wednesday, We had over 18,000 leads here. The FBI had some 15,000 leads there. We put that video out, and in less than a couple hours, we had almost another 5,000 leads.
Wow.
We're probably close to 40, 50,000 today, but we want those leads. We need those leads. We need people.
Did he say 40 or 50,000 leads
That's what
total?
he said.
That's a lot of leads, ladies and gentlemen. And there's that FBI tip line scrolling at the bottom. Please, if you have any tips on this case, don't be shy. Call those tips in.
Or keep calling us and sending us things, and because that's what's going to solve this case.
Presumably, you've run that DNA against CODIS, which is the database for people who've been convicted of crimes and did not find a match.
I don't know where they're at, but correct. We have no match. I don't know how. There's a lot of work to do with DNA and splitting it and mixtures and different things, way above my grade. I just allow my team. They deal with this stuff all the time. They're the experts, the FBI as well. And we let them come to us and tell us what it is they need, and we help them with that.
Did you find this DNA inside the house or outside the house?
I can't go there. I'm sorry.
But it was near the house. I mean, it wasn't, at some random place 2 miles away.
It was, well, the DNA we worked with was the DNA from that house the morning we went out and processed that crime scene.
And then promptly left the crime scene open for news reporters and Domino's pizza guys to deliver pizza and come up to.
And Amazon.
Obviously, this door cam video was a huge, significant breakthrough for you. Are you also working on retrieving video from the Nest cameras that were inside Nancy Guthrie's home or perhaps in other places on her property?
Yeah, I won't say where they were located, but I will say this. Yes, we had several cameras that we took and gave. That's part of the story was the sheriff's holding back from the FBI or that's furthest from the truth. I don't know where that comes from. We came in that morning on Sunday or Monday morning, I guess it is now, took our evidence. My team says we're going to send ours to the lab. It's a lab we use. They're in Florida now, but I think years ago they may have been in Arizona. I don't know. They put in a bid every year or every couple of years, and they win it.
So let me understand this, Ed, and I don't mean to keep cutting this thing off, but I have to stop it because we could forget about this. So what this sheriff is saying is that this lab in Florida has put in a bid and won a bid. Therefore, he is obligated to give all of his DNA work, no matter who's there, no matter if the FBI is there, the CIA, Doris Day, whoever, he has to give that lab who won the bid, as he just said, the business.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all because the Arizona Department of Public Safety has 4 DNA labs within the state of Arizona. So why do you have to outsource the DNA to a forensic lab in Florida when the Arizona State Law Enforcement has 4 labs that you could utilize? I mean, and I believe one is in his jurisdiction.
I hear someone in our chat, and thank you, Mercedes, for the comment. She says, that crime lab is one of the best in the world. Don't worry. I don't know anything about the crime lab. Mercedes.
Is she talking about the Arizona crime lab, or are you talking about the DNA lab in Florida? Which lab are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know, but I would love to, if you know more, Mercedes, please. I'm not saying it to be funny. I'm saying it because I want to know about it. If you have additional information on this lab and it's supposed to be the best in the world, definitely would love to hear about it. Yeah, she said the one in Florida. Yeah.
Okay.
He or she, I don't know. But send me a message on DutyRon.com about that lab, because are we even sure? Does he mention the lab in this piece? Let's take a further listen. Thank you, Mercedes. Let's listen.
Came in that morning on Sunday or Monday morning, I guess it is now, took our evidence. My team says we're going to send ours to the lab. It's a lab we use. They're in Florida now, but I think years ago they may have been in Arizona. I don't know. They put in a bid every year or every couple of years, and they win it. They're a good lab. They've done great work for us, solved cases before. FBI has a great lab. They've solved some cases for us. That wasn't the issue here. The issue was we submitted our evidence from that crime scene to there. We also had some hard evidence, what I consider hard, physical cameras, phones, computers, things like that. And we knew the FBI has the best resources for those items to be analyzed. And that morning, people say, "Oh, you waited too long to call." We called them that morning, 8 o'clock. They immediately said, "Sheriff, whatever you need." And they were attached to it. In fact, you just have to look at the press conferences that day, or I think it was Tuesday, the day after. Who's standing behind me? The FBI.
Right.
The next press conference, FBI. So we have a relationship here with the FBI that is not just vital to the FBI. It's not just vital to my department. It is vital to this community. And that relationship has lasted for 30, 40 years, as far as I know. We've always sent people to work in their building with their agents. They've had people at our place to work with us. To suggest that this sheriff would tell the FBI no on anything, that's crazy.
So these reports that we have gotten that the FBI is frustrated, that they feel you're not cooperating, are completely false.
I agree. They're completely false. At this local level, I don't know what's going on in Washington. I respect Washington because they have a job to do too. That's my FBI team here locally. That's their boss. And they have the right to make decisions as bosses. I have bosses too. That's my community. And so we sit down with their local leadership here, the SAC and the ASAC from Phoenix and Tucson, and we talk about these things. I've spent more time talking to you, probably 10 times more, than talking to the SACs about this DNA going to their lab or our lab. It was nothing more than simply a matter of, I have a lab that has all of our evidence. They have our markers for the family and people we want. Maybe it's the landscaper or the pool guy. All of those there. Why would I send? And then we had another crime scene up there.
Hey, I just want to stop it just for a second. He's talking about all the positive experiences, and that's a good thing with the lab, the outside lab. But as we see, the bomb squad, Ed, rolled, and so did SWAT Tactical. And the last time we saw those folks rolling was when they took that person, Carlos, into custody.
Detention.
Right? So at the end of the day, the reporters that are staked out outside of the Pima County Sheriff's, they said that was the last time they saw these two vehicles roll out. When they did that last operation. So interesting to see that happening in the background here.
Yeah. So maybe they have another person they're going to bring in for questioning or whatever the case may be, or another scene to process. So, hey, staying with the lab thing, there is some criticism from one of the people from Orphan Labs for what the sheriff has done here with sending these samples to the Florida lab. Okay, so it's not as if there is agreement on all of this. So you're going to have different experts disagreeing with this decision.
100%. Nobody's going to ever be on that same page. Ideally, I would have liked to have seen the FBI come in earlier. He said he did it right away that first day that they processed the scene. Don't forget, the Pima County Sheriff and his homicide squad were the first there, and the FBI took, I think, 2 days to get there. You guys correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. It took a couple of days for the FBI to show up on the scene. So he processed the scene with his homicide and his crime scene unit that they have within the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and sent that stuff off like ASAP, according to what we just heard him say. Correct, Ed?
Yep.
Yeah.
People we want, maybe it's the landscaper, the pool guy, all of those there. Why would I send? And then we had another crime scene up at a scene we did a search warrant on. All that stuff went to our labs. And so when they bought me the glove that was found some 2 miles away, they said, we'll send it to our lab. I said, well, why do that? Let's just keep it all in one place.
Keep it all in one place. Okay, we should say for our audience.
Ed, does that make sense to you? I mean, you're the CSI expert here, and I'm just going to ask you outright. Does that make sense to just keep it all at the same private lab down in Florida?
Well, I can understand aspects of it, but what I need to know about this private lab is, do they have access to upload stuff to CODIS? Okay, I'm not sure that if I'm not sure they have that access.
Right.
Okay, I don't know. But, typically private labs wouldn't have access to do that, because I'm not aware of that, because these are law enforcement sensitive cases. Usually it's a law enforcement entity or a law enforcement forensic lab that
Right.
has access to upload stuff to CODIS and do searches in CODIS.
There you have it. And now we looked at, I showed you before we went live, we looked at that backpack. This is even if the glove's a mile and a half, the sheriff just said 2 miles away, the one glove and then the other additional glove. If in fact they are from this perp that we saw on the camera, those are all different variables that makes this either important or not important at all. So if it was someone that just discarded it out on the road and FBI came across it, or if somebody called in a tip because maybe a citizen saw it and said, hey, I think you need to go and look at this, then it's just a waiting game. Hey, folks in the chat, we wanted to pull you guys. We have a really special guest who's waiting in the wind right now. He's in the green room. EquuSearch Midwest, attached to Texas EquuSearch. They search for the missing. Lost is not alone is their mantra. Tim Miller, founder of Texas EquuSearch, they search on horseback. They search by ATV. They search by drones. They have gear to go into ponds and into waterways. We want to bring on EquuSearch Midwest director Dave Rader, because he's been out there, not in Tucson, but he's been out there on many, many high-profile cases. He's, with his team, he has the drone team. They have some unbelievable capabilities. So I want to bring on Dave Rader so this way we could talk to him about some of the difficult terrain that's out there in Tucson, Arizona, and how they would go about it. So let's bring in Dave Rader. Dave, how are you, my brother? Good to see you.
Good to see you, fellas. Good to see you. It's been a long time. Thanks for having me once again.
Dave, what have you and your team, if you can keep it brief, but what have you and your team have been working on? I know you described a couple of things to me recently. You've been very busy. What have you guys been up to?
We were actually down in Demopolis, Alabama, since last Wednesday or Thursday. We had a gentleman that we recovered part of him 2 years ago, and then we felt that he was moved, and come to fruition that he was moved, and some workers found a bag of remains, and it turned out to be this gentleman, and we went back down for the family and for law enforcement to see if we could locate any more of this gentleman, to put the pieces together for forensics and for them to be able to actually maybe put together to see how this gentleman died. So, and then we also had another one, a gentleman that was missing and presumed murdered, also in Hale County, which is the county over. And we made some great progress. We didn't get home until yesterday, so we were literally burning the candle at both ends on this past week. So that's what we've been doing.
Wow, very busy. Hey Ed, I know you wanted to talk to Dave about the capabilities of EquuSearch Midwest. Dave, I understand that you're on standby. You guys are ready, tacking up, ready to go, getting supplies ready, or doing whatever you got to do to get yourself ready to go down into Tucson, Arizona to search on the ground and then by air. So Ed, I'll throw it over to you because this is part of your expertise.
Sure. So I know Dave has liaisons that are working behind the scenes to make this kind of stuff happen. So Dave, why don't you just give a quick overview of what kind of assets that you can bring to this jurisdiction to help them with searching these large desert areas?
As I've said before, Ed, it's a different terrain than what we have here in the Midwest. So you kind of, with this kind of time where you're trying to put together things before you get there and have a real good game plan, because once you hit the ground, you don't stop. And and you don't have time to stop. You have to keep forwarding. So my thought process is, and I believe that that Tim is in the same theory, is to cover this kind of terrain and this kind of let's put it this way. So statistics, I believe, from the FBI is that you're normally found within 12 square miles, and of where you went missing from. Within that 12 miles, if you put that into a radius, that's 500 square miles. That's a lot of miles to what you see of what's on your screen to cover, but not only by ATV, not only by foot pounders, but our thing is that the drones, and with the technology that we have at our fingertips with the locate system, with Shane and Gene Robinson, really honing this in, it's a game changer when you're in like this, because with the locate you can actually see colors. So if we know exactly what she was last seen in, we can dial that in. It doesn't have anything to do with the drone. It has everything to do with the product that the drone gets the pictures. Then what we have is an M3M from DJI, and that has 5 cameras on one bird, and it takes 5 pictures at one time, and that can actually show ground if a piece of ground has been disturbed. So if we, you grid these out and you work with the other drone pilots, it should be like an airport, and just keep spreading this out. Get your ground zero, get that covered, and then you keep expanding. And I think the only way that you can do that logistically is with the drones, and then put your boots on the ground and your assets. But timing is absolutely everything in this.
And we're 2 weeks into this thing. So tomorrow will be 14 days since she was last seen alive. And every minute makes a difference here. The sheriff mentioned in the first press conference, Dave, that they used fixed wing aircraft, they used drones, they used the Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol. Tucson is just, I think, an hour north of the border, of the Mexican border. Mm-hmm. And they had their search dogs out there. What type of dogs? And I know that EquuSearch has a full array of, assets, and that includes bloodhounds and cadaver dogs. Early on in this thing, I mean, obviously you would bring out the dogs. What would be the preferred method? I know you're not an expert on the dogs, but you utilize them, right?
Within the first 24 hours, it's very crucial for a tracking dog to be used first. So they would get an article of her clothing, pillowcase, toothbrush, something that has her scent on it. They sent everybody else off, and then that you're trusting that dog to give you a generalized direction. So that way you can kind of start moving in that direction, and then start looking for any kind of evidential value. But establishing a direction in something like this is very crucial, because then that takes a lot of ground away. So, but a cadaver dog can then be used when it's more consolidated and you think that you have a body. Then that's when you would bring in, let's say if you had a 40-acre process, then you would send your dogs in, and I would send multiple dogs in for checks and balances, and have them cover those 40 acres and to see what you have.
Ed?
I'm looking in the chat here, and it's saying some people are saying that there's a new person that has been detained. If someone can verify that and give us a source of where you're getting this information from.
All right, I'll search for that. Let's continue on with what we're talking about here.
Right.
Dave, I want to ask you about the drone capabilities, because as we can see, this is rough terrain, right? You got all kinds of different indigent wildlife. You got snakes out there, and it's hot. So when you throw up the drone, it's I mean, I'm repeating this because I remember you and Twyla having this discussion. It's better than having the dogs on the ground, because you can cover more ground miles in the air, and the accuracy of that drone is unbelievable, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about by the time that you put somebody on the ground and get them organized and get them a direction and start moving, then you've already flown your mission, and you've already got your you get your pictures, and it's already being downloaded into the locate program to be analyzed. And then what Twyla does is not only does it get analyzed by the locate, but then she will go back then and start eyeballing them. So that's, again, you can cover so much more ground than if we can get, even up to 10, 20 drones, especially in this area. We can sit there and do just like what we would do with foot searchers, is we would assign them grids. So that way they can start doing grids and not even being in each other's airspace.
Right. So you can put the GPS coordinates in, and you can plot this all out on your maps, and then download that information to the drones and send them out to do that pattern search for that area. And you have how many drones total now?
We've got a total of 3. We've got 2 thermal, and we have the M3M, which the ground. And the nice thing about this, Ed, is that you take away. So if I do come up with, let's say she was in pink, and I get 2 or 3 different pink, and this is from 165 feet down, it can literally pick up the size of a bottle cap from a beer bottle. So in when it does that, it circles into GPSs. I don't have to sit there and send 10, 20 people out there to check the anomaly. I can just have 1 or 2 people go out, find out what that is, and eliminate it, or I've got what I'm looking for.
Awesome. And people that don't understand, again, he's talking about the drones have thermal imaging capabilities, and the thermal imaging capabilities have the ability to find clandestine burial graves because of the soil disturbance. Creating the grave will have a different heat signature than the undisturbed soil around that area. If someone was buried in a shallow grave and you dug up that soil, now you're putting that back. Well, that soil that you're backfilling, its mineral makeup has been shifted than the undisturbed soil. So when the sun impacts it, it will heat up differently and give you an outline of a potential burial site. In addition, bodies decomposing will give off thermal properties as well.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So, and how many people would you, how many ground pounders, as we like to say, would you throw at a problem like this if you had to put people on the ground to search?
Well, what we would do is actually get your core people for the command center to make sure it's a well-oiled process. We would take as many people with us as we possibly can for team leads. And then we would rely on the individuals out at the that's out in Arizona. We could put them, the general public, with the team leads, and then send them out. So they're not just doing things willy-nilly. It would be a controlled environment for sure. And then we would be tracking them with with CalTopo, so that way we know where everybody is at any given time.
So for those people who don't understand what that is, it's a tracking device that you put on your people, right?
It's actually, it goes off of your phone, and if you don't have satellite, it's still tracking. Mm-hmm. And when you actually get back into service, you haven't missed a beat. You'll see exactly where you've been, and then that way, not only does it show you each individual with their names, but it also sits there and goes into, if something is found, now you have a story of how that person ended up. Where did they find this? They can even take a picture of it, and that GPS is it. So it really takes a lot of the guesswork out. So when you do go to court, if you do have try to get a conviction, you can introduce this as this is how this is why we do it, and this is how we do it. So that way there's no mistakes.
See, folks, these people are trained to preserve the evidence and preserve the crime scene. They're just not out there willy-nilly, contaminating the crime scene. They have all this training behind them, and it's a great asset, and we support them wholeheartedly. In fact, we've had several fundraisers for them, and got money to them to help them purchase whatever they needed, logistics wise, hotels, airfare, food, whatever the case may be. The money was used, I think even the money was used for some drones, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was the biggest thing that we purchased, was the drones. That was the technology, and that we that's what we needed to keep our names out there and in good faith. So I mean, you have to keep up with the times.
And these are all unpaid volunteers.
Nobody gets paid for it. Nobody gets a dime.
And it's funny, Ed. Dave asks them to put in slips for like hotels and food and such. They never even put the slips in. Most of them.
No.
I would say more than 3/4 don't even put in the slips.
They're great people.
They pay their own way down there. A lot of times they're driving, but
Yep.
Somebody asked in the chat, and it was a super chat. I want to say thank you, Ryan MD, for the super chat. He or she said, can these drones detect if a body was secreted into like a mine shaft or into underground and so forth? And I know that, again, with that fundraiser that we did in 2021, it's so long ago, we got to do another one again. Once we get back up rolling, we're going to do another one for you guys. In 2021, when you were able to purchase those drones after that fundraiser, I know that you got that new capability plus Shane up in Canada with the program, right? Locate.
Yeah, that man's an absolute genius, and you put him in with Gene Robinson. I mean, it's a win-win situation. Let me touch on that mine shaft for a second. There was a guy that was out in the middle of Odessa, Texas, that was murdered, and they said he was cut up, burnt, and put down a mine shaft about an 8-inch hole. And we were working with one of the locals, but we were also working with the Texas Rangers at the time. And we literally came up with it's I don't even know how to describe this, but it was a piece of pure cotton, sterile, and they dumped alcohol on it. And then what they did was they lowered it down into the shaft. They let it down there for as long as we could sit there and as our rope would go. And some of these things are 1,600 feet plus. But what we did was we dropped this down there and we brought it back up and we put it in sealed containers, airtight containers. And we marked it with the GPS of where we did this hole. And then we had, we uncorked one at a time and we let the cadaver dogs go around the airtight container, but it was open to see if we got any of the decomp smell onto the gauze or the cotton, which I can't remember which one we used.
Wow.
But we did utilize that for the mine shafts. I mean, we do have a well cam, but it's only good for 100 feet. And to be honest with you, those things are just too far down to see.
Yeah. But if it's a bigger type of mine, like a mineral mine or a precious metal mine or anything like that, we have the capabilities of flying small drones into those types of mines.
Correct.
But then again, if they collapsed and so forth and so on, then you're only going to get so far with the drones.
Now, Ed, I know you've been tracking this thing from the beginning. People in the chat are asking, do you recall at the sheriff at either one of the two? He's only done the two press conferences. The second one, the FBI was there. It was multiple people up at the podium. Did he ever confirm that? I think I remember hearing, but I know that your memory is like a sponge when it comes to crime scene stuff. Did the sheriff confirm that dogs were out at the location in the beginning, Ed?
I don't know that he confirmed that, but I did see law enforcement canine assets out at Nancy's place. Mm-hmm. They look like either shepherds or Belgian Malamute. So I don't know if they were trackers or I don't know if they were cadaver dogs. But you know, I know that there are several like shepherds or Belgian Malinois that have been trained as trackers. So I don't know if that was the case. I don't know what they were capable of, but I did see some canines in news footage out at Nancy's house in the backyards.
And I do recall hearing the sheriff say that we thought we had an elderly that wandered off, you know, with dementia or something like that. And we quickly realized it wasn't. Hey, I just want to let the live chat know I am monitoring on not only my third monitor, but my secondary device. Apparently, we saw the bomb squad and the SWAT assets go out. And like I said in the beginning with Ed, last time that they saw these assets move, there was someone apprehended and detained. He was detained and questioned for 8 hours and released. I think tonight what they're doing, what I'm looking and what I'm seeing, what I'm reading, is that they're in the process of possibly either doing a hit or getting a warrant to do a hit, something that happened. And sometimes in these vast investigations where there's so much data and so many people providing information, it sometimes is a fluid situation where they don't necessarily plan to do something, but then they roll on something and then something else happens. So let's just wait and see. I got several devices as we discuss the search for Nancy Guthrie. I am on it, and if any of you guys see anything, I'm aware of like a bunch of live streamers are like, you know, oh, it's about to go down, but I'm looking and I'm waiting, and if we are live and it all happens, we will cover that. But I think that this aspect of the search, somebody in the chat just said, you know, they let the crime scene go too quick, and then people were trampling over. Not only was the blood up in the front of that door where we saw Brian Enton take a video, Ed, we now know that the blood trail led all the way out to the front where the circular driveway meets. So there was a longer blood path, dripping path, and the news wasn't even covering it. There was somebody from YouTube that was there, and they were filming it. After they did their initial clearing and processing of inside the home, which could have taken 8 to 10 hours or 12 hours, they let that go. They took down any of the yellow tape if it was up there, and they let it go, and people trampled over it. Ed, how detrimental is that to the preservation of this vital evidence that's going to be needed to prosecute someone successfully?
Well, I mean, you don't need to collect the whole blood trail. All you need are one or two blood stains from the pattern of the trail to do analysis from. You take a sample from where the trail starts, and then you take a sample from where the trail ends. And I would like something in the middle as well, but that's just me. And then, so long as you got that before you gave up the crime scene, then those should be okay. And if there were any indicators that there was this was expirated blood or expired blood, with air bubbles, saliva, mucal membranes in it, and so forth, you should definitely collect that as well to identify that, so that could help you with the origin of that blood. Like it was spit, it was coughed, it came out of the nose, out of the mouth, whatever the case may be. And so, yeah, that's important. But anything from that point on, after you dropped the crime scene tape and allowed all these people to come over here, is now considered suspect.
Yeah. And here's our good friend, Emily D. Baker, in the chat. She said, "Oh, where did that go? What happened to that?" I'm sure she was making a statement as it pertains to the legality of what a defense attorney would have. I wish that I had that back up. Okay, thank you. Whoever did that, behind the scenes, that might be Kristen. She says, you all are right. The sheriff talked about the Customs and Border Protection dogs because they don't have tracking dogs at the first presser. So my 62-year-old memory has served me correct. So Emily, thank you so much for being here. She's a fantastic lawyer, a former prosecutor in Los Angeles, and she's got a wonderful, unbelievable YouTube channel. She covers a lot of trials. And
I like watching her show as well.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I love it. I love the cursey words, and I'm always in the chat when I can. on her show. She does a really great coverage. But Emily, while we have you here, if you're still listening, this is a problem for prosecution, a successful prosecution. Forget about all of these other, the white noise that's going on with the media and TMZ and Harvey and the whole crew creating this behind the scenes fighting between the FBI and the local sheriff. If we get on somebody under arrest and a defense attorney looks at how this evidence was bungled with leaving the crime scene open. I love Brian Enton. He's our good friend, but he's doing his job. If the crime scene is open, he's going to take his camera and roll up that front porchway. And he showed us the blood in this case. It's a defense attorney's wet. I won't say that. It's a defense attorney's dream to see that because it gives them something to do. I hope Emily's here to maybe comment on that because I know I'm not crazy. That's what defense attorneys do.
Well, Emily was a former prosecutor, if my memory serves me correctly. So she should know how this can impact a prosecutor's case if later down the road further evidence had to be retrieved from the scene after the crime scene safety of safeguarding was dropped. And allowed these other, because like I said, just the other day we were watching and said, who's that guy in black walking around the crime scene? And and there was a cruiser out there and the officer was in the car and this guy is walking around the back end of the property.
Yeah. Amazing. For us, it just blows our mind because with the New York City Police Department, this stuff is not allowed to go on. Granted, we are the largest police department in the United States, second to the LAPD, but you just don't do this. It just so goes against what we live and breathe. We work for the victims, right? We want to bring justice to these families. But if you have something that starts out like this, where it's a free game, where Domino's pizza deliveries and Amazon drivers and packages and pools are being cleaned today. Ed, our heads were exploding today because we were like, who the fuck is this on the property? And then we're like, wait a minute, there's a sheriff there getting the guy's ID back to him. They had the fucking pool getting cleaned. Excuse the cursing, but it just drove me nuts. Ed. Earlier in the show, we were talking about the private DNA lab that was used in this case, that they flew these samples out to Florida, right? And I got the name of the lab and everything. And I said earlier, I didn't think they would be able to upload the profiles that they've generated to CODIS, and they can't. Sure.
All right. I just, do my research and everything. They can't upload to. So here's the downside to sending these samples to that lab. Okay, they generate profiles. Now they have to send those profiles back to a law enforcement entity or a law enforcement forensic lab for them to input it into CODIS. Now, had they used one of the Arizona Department of Public Safety forensic labs that does DNA work, or they use Quantico, the FBI DNA lab, they would have been, once they got the profile, they would have immediately been able to search CODIS with it from the lab. So this is an extra step that has to occur to get the profile generated by the private lab into the system.
Yeah. That's that's problematic because you want something that's going to be turnkey, and we know that the FBI and Quantico is there. That's what they live and breathe for. That this is what they do, and they have access to immediate access into the CODIS database. Ed, a few people have been reporting on the use of these 23andMe, and we did this with Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick. We did a live stream about the use of these various genetic genealogy or the private places where you want to find out your family tree. And we found out, I don't know if it changed but that they are not willing to share their database with. There was only one of them that shared with the police openly, but
Yeah.
23andMe and some of the others, they
don't do it. 23andMe, Ancestry.com. In fact, one of them just went belly up, but they don't allow law enforcement access to their databases.
Right.
There's just one or two that allow law enforcement, but they also tell their clients, you can opt in or opt out of that.
Right. So they're not really, what's being reported is not completely accurate, because they can't just go to these places. They're not like, we'll open up our database to you. Here's $100 super chat, and I want to say thank you to Just Nita. She says, great explanations. Wondering how much civilians walking all over and around the crime scene will affect in a future trial, and we just discussed that. So,
well, again, any evidence collected or processed after the scene lost control is going to be an issue.
Yeah. Here's we covered that one. Katina, thank you for the super chat. She says, thank you to Dave, EquuSearch, Dave, and the team for all you do. Yeah, a lot of people are very appreciative of what you guys do.
There was a flower delivery too.
Yeah. Look, if people want to buy flowers and have them placed on the curb, or there's no curb really there in the at the end of their property, it's okay. I mean, unless the police department or the sheriff's department says no. But at this point, you got pizza coming up there, you got packages being delivered, you got pool guys today, day 13. You got 2 pool guys. You think that they could have said to him, you know what? I know the family wants the pool clean, but that's not the number one priority here. Why don't you come back after we solve this crime, and you could clean the pool?
But at least in this one, we did see the deputy sheriff there that was assigned to safeguard confront them, grab their IDs, and did a little background investigation to ensure that these are legitimate pool people that are coming here on a contract to clean the pool. Yeah. And then we did see that, and we see them return their IDs to them and allow them to fulfill their contractual obligation.
I'm going to pull up the pool footage. Dave, I apologize. You know we love you, and we're like best friends. I can't wait to finally meet you soon. It's going to happen sooner than later. I almost feel like I have to apologize to you because we got off track here. We're talking about...
No, listen. This is the stuff that has to get out so your listeners can understand. I mean, you guys have got a lot more knowledge on the bigger scope of this than what I do. I know my end of it as far as with the technology, as far as the search, and when we're on the ground, that's a whole different ballgame. But you guys get into the meat and potatoes of things. I mean, again, if I had just a sliver of Ed's brain.
You don't want my brain, bro.
I'd be damn dangerous.
You don't want my brain. I'm dumping stuff out of my hard drive. I can't remember stuff anymore.
All right.
So, but I mean, don't apologize. This is things that need to be covered.
Let's go live to Nancy Guthrie's pool cleaning today. And if you thought I was telling you some BS, and I apologize for the cursing. The cursing words, they come out, the cursing comes out with me when I get really frustrated and pissed off. And in addition to this pool cleaning, which was today during the day, there is up on the berm off of her property, on somebody else's property, it looks like 3 news cameras. Ed Wallace pointed that out. Up here where my cursor is, this is not Nancy Guthrie's property, but it looks at it. There's 1, 2, and maybe a third tripod.
I don't know that the other 2 are news cameras. They may be lighting, but the one on the tripod is definitely a covered news camera.
Mind blowing.
And there's a Pelican case. There's a Pelican case off to the left for all of that equipment right there. Yeah.
So look, here's 2 guys cleaning the pool on day 13, and I mean, am I being a little bit out of line here by saying, hey guys, come back when we solve this case? This pool, nobody's going to use it. We need to find out what happened to Nancy Guthrie. and we need to get the perps that are. We know that there's one suspect because now the FBI today, after doing their measurements with the tent yesterday on day 12, they have a 5'9" to 5'10". Yes, Ed Wallace was right on the money with 5'9", 5'10". I said 5'11", so I was pretty close. And again, I'm not an Ed Wallace. You know what I mean? He knows everything.
Well, because I know the standard size of the bricks, and you can count the bricks against the person that was standing there, and then you can get that kind of estimate. That's why I came up with the 5'9", 5'10", right. And then that's why they went back yesterday with the tent, and they did their scanning and they did their imaging to measure. And that's another thing. Why wasn't that done earlier? Why wasn't this 3D laser scanned earlier? So they came back in and did the 3D laser scanning. They probably could have done some more workup of the blood stains there as well. And they got the information they needed to do the height and possible footwear size of the suspect. All
right. So that's the pool. I had to show you that. I want to let you guys watch quickly today. Monica Garcia, who's a local news reporter with one of the stations, had a one-on-one sit-down with Chief Nanos from the Pima County Sheriff's Department. So let's take a listen to this. I haven't listened to it in its entirety, but let's listen in.
It has been nearly 2 weeks now since Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped from her Catalina Foothills home. Just yesterday, the FBI released new images of the suspect and increased the reward, leading to her recovery to $100,000. Tonight, we are once again bringing you team coverage on all the latest developments. News 4 Tucson's Jacob Owens is live at Nancy Guthrie's home. And right now, that is happening. But first, let's get to News 4 Tucson's Monica Garcia, who just sat down with Sheriff Chris Nanos. Monica, tell us about that conversation.
Yeah, hey there, Sean. We sat down one-on-one with Sheriff Chris Nanos about 20 minutes ago. So we just got out of the Pima County Sheriff's headquarters right behind me. And we talked to him because, of course, we've been hearing a lot of allegations, questions circulating about how evidence is being handled between the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI, which Sheriff Chris Nanos says there is no issue. They're all on the same page. But he did tell me a little bit more about the glove situation, because over the past couple of days, we've been hearing about new evidence. The most recent one was a glove, possibly multiple gloves being found within 2 miles off of Campbell Road from Nancy Guthrie's house. So he confirmed that the glove was found, but he said, in fact, multiple gloves have been found throughout the course of their investigation after they expanded their search after the first glove was found. So in all, he said multiple gloves have been found.
So multiple. Again, we don't know if there's 2 gloves. There was a report that a glove was found from inside the house, and I think that he walked that back and said that's not true. Or we never found the glove. He said we found DNA, but it wasn't anybody from the families, and he didn't have any results back from the DNA. Correct, Ed?
Yeah. And know what he won't also answer?
What?
How did the perp get in? He won't answer that, and I can understand that. So we still don't know if there was any forced entry whatsoever. And, so there could be a working theory that, he rang the doorbell or knocked, or when he was trying to take the doorbell off, he made it ring. She came to the door, opened the door, and then he hit her. Yeah. And everything happened right there. But he was instead of being in the location for 40 plus minutes. And then there, with the information from the pacemaker monitor and the smartwatch and the phones and so forth.
And there also could be a possibility that this perp that we see here in the vestibule, in the doorway, could have been laying in wait. And when the garage door opened up, he could have just snuck on in. You ever see when people kind of sneak on in as the door is closing down?
Yeah, I heard that, but I'm a little iffy about that.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's always a possibility. There's a possibility that the back sliding glass doors, which are multiple sliding glass doors on this home, could have been left open and unlocked. That happens as well. But yeah, who knows? Let's see.
found it. He tells me one, even as far as Craycroft, okay, that they're taking all these gloves. They've already been sent out to their Florida lab, and they're waiting to see if anything comes of these gloves that have been found within 2 mile radius, within miles past that, as far as Craycroft. Again, now the sheriff confirms that right now to me. And he also says that search teams then expanded outward, locating other items. All of the items are being sent to the same Florida lab the department has used for decades, not the FBI lab. The sheriff says that lab already has the original evidence, so sending everything there actually streamlines the process. Take a listen to how he explains that.
They develop a marker, then we want a profile, then we're going to have to send that profile to our lab, or you're going to have to send our lab stuff to them. That's just adding a step. If the FBI said, Chris, we don't like your lab because of this, absolutely, then it's a different story. But that's not the case.
That's not accurate.
So he
Please elaborate, Ed.
So if they develop the profile, okay, so all they can do in-house is compare that profile to the elimination information that they may have obtained and gotten profiles of from the family or the workers, right? So in-house, all they can do is those kind of comparisons, right? But they can't get into CODIS. Okay, so eventually those profiles, the suspect profiles, has to get to a law enforcement entity to be entered into CODIS, because they can't do it. So, that suspect profile that they have has to come back to his agency, and then they have to take it to, if they don't have the capabilities to enter into CODIS because they don't have their own crime lab, then they have to either bring it to the Arizona Department of Public Safety's lab, or give it to the FBI for the FBI to put it into their, through their system into CODIS. So there's still this extra step.
Yeah, so that statement does not jive as it pertains to this. So here's the look at the dog. This was early on right here. Just so you guys know, people were asking, were there ever dogs there? This looks like
that's a Malinois, and usually that's, especially if it's coming from
Border Patrol.
I think those are used
For tracking.
I don't know if they're usually a bloodhound is usually your best tracker.
Oh yeah, that's what we use. But
Yeah.
I know these are normally biters.
Oh, those are usually for either protection for law enforcement or to detain somebody, or they're used for drugs. But your best dog to use for tracking, bar none, is the good old bloodhound. TSA is using a lot of beagles now. Beagles in labs, but beagles. You know what the best dog with the best nose is the poodle.
A poodle?
A poodle.
I was going to say a pig.
Yeah. No. They actually have search honors now, so where's this going?
Yeah, the absolute best tracking nose in the wildlife that I'm aware of is a polar bear, but you can't train them.
No.
Okay. But they can track you. They'll track their prey for miles.
Yep. Here's the FBI Phoenix from their X account. They uploaded these pictures of this Ozark Trail. It's like a $10, $12, $13 backpack sold in Walmart. Again, tracking this down, I think we all know that, with cash receipts, with credit card, no matter how it was paid for, the store itself has internal, they track how many units they sell of a particular item on what day, so they can do searches. But that's providing that the person that had that backpack on purchased it there and didn't purchase it in Oklahoma or New York or somewhere else and bring it there, or purchased it. I've seen reviews of these things 8 years ago, same exact backpack, 5 years ago. I went on YouTube and looked for people reviewing these, and this backpack has been around a while. It's not like a new item that just came off the shelf. So again, all of these leads have to be followed up, and that's what takes the time. Is that they have to rely on the store to provide them with the details.
Now, when you see this backpack being worn on our suspect under the infrared camera there, okay, you don't see the contrast in the white stitching for the logo on the upper portion there. That might be an indicator that he may have blacked it out. Okay.
Piece of tape.
Aren't those usually reflective?
Yes, it's usually reflective. Now, if you see the straps, on the Walmart advertising,
I got it. There it is.
okay, you see the straps. They're a reflective material, almost identical in color to the logo on the back, and yet that logo is not reflecting.
Yeah, you could barely see it up here.
So I'm thinking that it might have been blacked out. The logo might have been blacked out, like by taking a. Let's see if I have one laying around here. I normally do.
Yeah.
A Sharpie marker.
Yeah, you could just do that quickly with a Sharpie marker or whatever. Listen, we want to say hello to everybody in the chat. There's at one point there was over 4,800 people here. Now we're down to 3,600. I want to thank everybody for being here. If you've not yet given this video a thumbs up or subscribe, please do that if you can. It's free to do it. We greatly appreciate it. We take out. Look, it's Friday night. Ed and I said, let's do this. We haven't given an update in 24 hours. So with the lack of the press conferences with the sheriff, we figured we would go over some of this. It looks like that the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI are doing an operation out there in the field. There's plenty of YouTubers that are live and following them around. We're going to follow it closely what goes on tonight. And if anything major develops, you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be live and calling Ed and waking him up out of his sleep to go live tonight. He'll put in a request for overtime. I'll call Dave, but he'll click me to voicemail. But
yeah.
I'm always up, so that's I've
So
learned.
we know this, Riley E27, that no gloves were found in the house. But the news, and this is almost like Gabby Petito's dad, Joe, went on, I think, in an interview and said, a lot of times a bad report gets out there or a false report, and then everybody runs with it. That's the case. The glove thing was being spread on every CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, NBC, ABC. Everybody had it. And then it gets walked back. So that's the roller coaster ride that you see in these cases. And we always say, let's wait and hear what the officials are saying. But last press conference was last Thursday, a week and a day ago. And I don't anticipate any press conferences from the sheriff until, like he said, something major breaks. So we're here to kind of like fill the void a little bit and give you guys some of our sensible thoughts. Now, we do sometimes vary and give some speculation because that's all we're left to do. We don't, like Ed said, we don't know if it was a forced entry break, whether it was, we don't know anything really about what happened on the inside of that house, and nor do we need to know. Mm-hmm. But that's what happens in these cases. But Dave, I want to, if it's all right with you, show a little bit of your website because I have it saved. EquuSearch Midwest, great group, and I got the Facebook group, and I'm going to go to the website directly because this is where everybody can support you guys. And if you go to EquuSearchMidwest.org, I'll link it in the description. I think probably Kristen is already. This is all the cases that these guys are posting up, missing person after missing person after missing person. And these are cases that they've gone out on and lent a helping hand to bring loved ones home to their families. So when you see cases like the, Nancy Guthrie case, which has 24/7 coverage, some of these folks, Dave, I'll ask you if this is true or not, get barely any, little to no coverage. And that's
No, there's very little coverage unless it's a high-profile case down in Alabama. Most of these don't get no airtime whatsoever.
so sites like yours, I love to see this because you're posting pictures of the missing, and lost is not alone, again, is the mantra, right?
Absolutely.
And this is what you guys do. If you go on to DutyRon.com, there's a hyperlink to this site because we 100% support EquuSearch Midwest.
Yeah, they need. There's a lot of these that are just. I know that they've had some past and things like that, but Naya, that was high profile, and that was only because her dad was a UFC fighter. Right. So that was, but Birmingham, Peyton. So
the list goes on and on. We could just do these,
He was located. We found him.
Yeah. So I tip my cap to the men and women who volunteer for EquuSearch Midwest, because these are the folks, if you ever get into a situation where a loved one goes missing, these are the folks that you want to get a hold of, because they never not answer the phone. They always get back to you.
Absolutely.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah, before we close up, what do you got?
I got to tell you, our friends over in Europe in the forensic community are utilizing a new technique of helping identify and matching weapons to suspects. They're using the dogs, and this is how it works. So they at the scene, a crime scene, you have a murder weapon, or you have an assault weapon where the perp is in the wind, a knife, a gun, a bat, whatever the case may be. Okay. So what they do is they have this vacuum cartridge system where they'll go over the weapon with this system, and it'll collect the scent information off the item and gets trapped on the cartridge. And then they seal the cartridge up, and they pack it up, and they store it in a controlled environment location. Now, say down the line, they're going to process the gun for fingerprints and DNA and all of that stuff. That's all, standard. But say down the line, they get a suspect, right? And they still haven't gotten their DNA results back. What they'll do is they'll do almost like a photo array or a lineup of scent cartridges. They'll have the cartridges all lined up, different scents from different people, lined up, but they'll have that one from the crime scene that they're working there. Then they'll have the dog sniff the suspect. They'll bring the suspect in, and they either voluntarily allow this to occur, they give consent, or they get a warrant from a judge to allow them to use the dog to sniff the suspect, and then the dog will then work the scent canisters, and they know which one came from the weapon. And if the dog hits on that one, they use it as probable cause to make the arrest.
Wow. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. And then hopefully any DNA results and fingerprint results will come and back that up.
Yeah. I just did a quick search, Ed. That's fascinating. The technology and all of these, everything evolves as time goes on, and it just keeps getting better and better. I'm searching the major networks, and I don't see anything. Something is definitely brewing, and there's going to be some movement tonight in this case. It might happen overnight. Don't forget, they're a couple hours behind us. So right now it's 9:15 on the East Coast. Dave, you're on the same time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So 9:15 on the East Coast. It's 7:15 over there in Arizona. I believe that things may occur tonight because they're definitely out there. And one of the news reporters said the last time we saw the two trucks go out, there was that apprehension. Of course, they questioned and released that individual. But here we see the FBI agent several days ago taking this camera. This is the camera that faces towards the pool at Nancy Guthrie's home. And this is what we're hoping is going to provide additional information, because in addition to this camera, Ed and I, we talked about it. I'm going to back it up and see if we can get to that shot. There was another angle. Just this is the garage. Obviously, we see that, right? There is a camera right here where my cursor is, and it was removed. And if that camera did catch anything, and it did what the Nest did in the front, here's another point of entry here, because there's sliding glass doors in here. There's a set of them. There's another door right here. Hopefully this camera that was here could have caught here. No camera here, but there was a camera right here that faced the driveway, right there. The solar panel still there.
And hopefully that camera could, if they get those images, could corroborate whether or not when she was returned home from dinner with her daughter by her son-in-law, they went through the garage, because we do have an indication that the garage door was opened.
Right. Was it this door or was it the actual garage door? Because this leads to the garage right here.
I think it was the garage door, they said. So we're not sure which garage door. Is it the overhead garage door or that door? I'm not sure. But there was indication that the garage door, one of the garage doors was open.
Okay. And there was talk recently about cameras inside the home. And you and I talked about it. My mom, when she was sick and she had a home health aide, it was limited mobility. My brother lived a block away from her, but we put in the Ring video doorbell cameras inside the home. She knew it. There was one in the living room, and there was one in her kitchen and her in the kitchen and like the breakfast nook. So we saw the aide that was there helping her feed her and cook her food, and maybe there was that type of setup inside the Guthrie home. And if that's the case, then that's going to also provide us with additional insight to the interior of that home. Whether they'll share that with us or not is probably remains to be seen. But I certainly think that, as the days go on, and hopefully sooner than later we get to a finalization and an end result where the perpetrator that we see on that front walkway is taken into custody, and we find out where Nancy is. Whether, and let's be honest, it's this is a long time. 2 weeks of someone who needs medication, who has a pacemaker, who's not able to walk freely, and has mobility issues, and is bleeding and was bleeding on the day in question. Chances are slim, very slim, but we always hope for a miracle to happen. But as we wrap it up, I want to thank everyone for subscribing and for being here and for supporting Ed and myself. We try to bring you as fact-driven reporting, and from our perspective, from the police detective's perspective. And I also want to thank Dave Rader, because he's been very patient. And yes, we had a segment with him talking about the search. And Dave, if you're mobilized and heading out there, just let me know. I don't want to interfere with what you guys do.
Yeah, I'll gladly let you guys know for sure, so that way we can report live from out there too. So
Twyla, Tony, and the whole crew and everybody involved, Linda, everybody, we love and respect you guys, and really have a deep admiration for the work, the volunteer work that you guys do. EquuSearch Midwest. If you want to support them, go on over to their website. It's on my website, and it's going to be linked here in the description. Ed, final words, and then we go over to Dave.
Well, thank you again, folks, for spending your Friday the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. And I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day for tomorrow in advance. Yeah, Friday the 13th is not usually a good day, especially for me, but you're here with us. Thank you. We know you can spend your time on any other YouTube channel to get your true crime fix. And we're honored that you spend that time with us for this hour. And thank you for spreading the word about us. And please have a great day tomorrow. And always stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six.
And Carla, Carlac, I'll answer this. I think it's more than one perp. That's my opinion. While Ed's on, what do you think, Ed?
It could be. Definitely could be. I mean, Well, like we can't rule out anything at this point in time.
Yeah. I want to show Keys from the Crypt sent this into the P.O. box, CrimeTime with DutyRon. I was going to ask her where yours is, Ed, but I'm going to do it right now because I know she's watching. This is an awesome drawing. She drew it herself.
Nice.
And it came to the P.O. box. Happy Valentine's Day to all the ladies out there. I hope you have a really peaceful and loving day tomorrow. We want to thank you all for being here. Dave, I go to you for final words on this case and your thoughts.
You know, I hope we can get involved in order to so that we know that there's things being done out there. I'm sure that there's things being done, but you know, I think it's time that we, you know, this really needs to be put together and let the, you know, law enforcement agencies do the investigation while we go out there and we be the boots on the ground. And when the best time that you ever have great success is when you're working hand in hand with somebody, and that's how you get things accomplished. And that's I pray for the best, but as time ticks on, we all know that's it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Thank you so much. And on behalf of Crime Time, there's more questions. Who's doing that? Is that Kristen doing that?
No, that's me by accident. Sorry.
Had a receipt with medication.
No, I didn't mean to hit that.
Yeah, but I didn't see that. I haven't seen that. And I really don't pay attention to a lot of the gossip. I mean, reporting is reporting. I get it. They're there to put out as much information as they can. But like we always say, if we don't hear it from bona fide sources, law enforcement, then we have to take it with a grain of salt, unfortunately, because we've been doing this so long, not only as professionals with the job, but doing this on YouTube. But we see in all of these cases, the rumor mill is just, it's like a tornado. If you listen to it all, your head will be spinning. You know, it's, you know, it is what it is. Look, Karen's yelling at you in the chat. She's like,
yeah, well, Karen, what I was trying to do was hit the one above it to come on, because somebody was wishing me a very happy Friday the 13th. But what you don't know is, and you couldn't know, is that I got into a shootout on Friday the 13th. And so every time there's a Friday the 13th, it always brings back the memory of that incident.
Did you hit the target, Ed?
Well, I took out the windshield of the vehicle.
All right, that's fair enough. I like it. Nobody else was hurt, though, including you, most importantly. All right, on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I want to thank you for being here. Please support EquuSearch Midwest at all possible. If any bit counts, $1. We had you know, people donate vehicles and so forth to EquuSearch Midwest. So get in touch with them. You know, people say, "Oh, I can't get out there and search. How could I help?" Every little bit counts. So please, you know, support these folks. Dave, thank you. Twyla, everybody who's watching, we appreciate you. We love you. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we'll see you on the next one. Look for an update. We may be live tonight. Ed, don't take your no-dose. You got to be up all night, Ed.
Okay.
We'll see you. Thank you.